It's Cash Color Cannabis, a high level of conversation on LivehiphopDaily.tv, and we are back out here, Castleberry District, for another interview. And I got my friend Jodeci Gonzalez in the building tonight.
Buzz.
I don't know. You know, actually, me and Joe, we've been actually talking for a good while now. I feel like the podcast has actually been running since about 8:48. But Josie, thank you so much for being here. Like, I remember you hit me up this weekend. I wasn't even sure why you were in Atlanta. Like, what brought you to the A?
I'm honestly pollinating, and what I mean by that
Please explain, because I know so many people confused.
Yes, I know. So I'm pollinating, and what that means is I take my business on the road because my mission as a business owner of Jodeci's Alternative Daily Enhancements is to empower minds across the nation through the use of holistic methods to their daily living. So whether that be nutrition or emotional support, companionship, and I had an opportunity out here with a doctor, actually Dr. Uma, who is an incredible doctor and a mentor of mine. And as she's facing hard times and difficult times with the healthcare system and her father, it ampled the opportunity for me to come down, get to experience Atlanta, and help Dr. Uma. Not only that, with Minorities for Medical Marijuana, we have a very active chapter in the state of Georgia. And so now I get to fellowship with my counterparts and really make some action out here in Georgia.
Yeah, you know, you jump base a little bit, but I was going to ask you to introduce yourself and please tell everybody the many things that you do so they know what we're about to talk about.
Yes, so thank you so much for having me on this show. This is truly an honor, and it's exciting. And it's overdue. Yes,
man. Yeah, like I got stories, but yeah, it's overdue.
So my name, like you said, my name is Jodeci Gonzalez, and I am the CEO and founder of Jodeci's Alternative Daily Enhancements, otherwise known as JADE, where, like I said, we empower minds of humankind to decrease the use of opioids across the nation through sticky sweet remedies. And I produce a medical grade honey. It's a luxury honey, top quality, top of the line, #1 honey in the nation. It's a Manuka honey infused with CBG. And then I also do indigenous recipes when it comes to tobacco leaves. So I do an Ecuadorian Fronto with honey, coated in honey, as well as honey's hammock. And that is a banana leaf coated in honey, as well as teas. I say that I'm a pollinator because many people would like to say I'm an entrepreneur, but there's so many negative stigmas on the word entrepreneur. So just like Buzz is my hello, pollinator is my title. So I get to honorably represent Minorities for Medical Marijuana as their Chief Operating Officer, and it's a privilege. I've been with them for 2 years now. I started in the industry legally 6 years ago, and so this just gives me an opportunity to pollinate more and really make an impact when it comes to empowering our people.
I love that for you. You definitely moved on up in for MM.
They did not know who I was, right? So I started out at M4MM as Roz's executive assistant, where I was scheduling her, meetings. She quickly found out that I am not the best at scheduling.
I can hear Roz, so we're going to find another role for you.
And I say that jokingly. She probably wouldn't admit to that because she gives me so many flowers. But she saw my abilities. And at this time, I didn't know Roz. I had never met her really. I had worked with Nicole Buffong, and another staple in our industry.
Yes. Also been a guest here 2 times now.
And she's also mentored me in some of the avenues that I've been in the cannabis industry. So flowers to Nicole. But with Roz, she saw some of my, passions and abilities and just my dedication to our people. And she was like, okay, let's change your role. Now you're going to be project manager and executive administrator. Well, I grew out of that too. So here we are, and I'm the COO. And
now you're the COO.
Yes.
That's a job.
COO, CEO, just a pollinator.
I feel you, man. Moving on up. Now, I met you at Benzinga, Miami last year. And the crazy part was, I follow people on social media, and sometimes you could tell when they're in a room. And I was like, that's Jodeci Gonzalez. And let me tell you, the first thing that popped in my mind was "Come and Talk to Me." That was, I swear to God, the first thing that popped in my mind was singing Jodeci "Come and Talk to Me." And then I went and spoke to you, and you said, "Hey, come and talk to me." And I was like, "Oh, she got a good sense of humor. She clearly gets the joke."
Well, I was named after the group. Shout out to my parents.
I was gonna ask you that. How did you get the name Jodeci like that? So your parents decided that it's gonna be Jodeci.
Absolutely, they loved Jodeci like many others did,
Yeah.
and boom.
Do you know what's wild? When I was looking for an interview that you did, and I found it eventually. But I typed in your name, Jodeci Gonzalez. Do you know how many other Jodeci Gonzalezes there are?
There shouldn't be much.
Oh, there are. that was the thing that blew me away. I was like, so there was a wave of people who got named Jodeci Gonzalez at one point?
Really?
Yeah, man. I looked it up. I was really blown away by that.
I want to see.
Okay, wait. Hold on. Can we pull this
Like,
up?
now I'm really curious because I Google my name often.
Do you?
Yeah, just to see if any of my, history shows up.
Give me a second when the internet pulls up. I'm going to show you. But yeah, I looked up Jodeci Gonzalez, and I was like, that's crazy that there's others.
Well, I have done lots of interviews, and, man, I've also been in jail, so there's a lot of different things on there.
I didn't see that.
Oh, good.
So talk to us about your coming up. Like, so you're actually from Chicago.
I'm from Chicago, originally born and raised in Chicago, and then when I was 10 years old, my family, my mother and my two younger siblings, we moved to southern Indiana. Long story on how we ended up in the boondocks, or really in the cornfields. And I graduated from Ball State University in 2014, and then worked for Indiana University Health as an HR consultant. Did a couple other things as well, because I'm a serial entrepreneur, pollinator. Yeah. And then I found so much hurt within Indiana specifically when it came to the opioid crisis. I lost my father on an opioid overdose. My mother worked in the pharmaceutical industry and would bring home the weirdest ingredients that went into omeprazole. One ingredient I can say is acetone, and omeprazole is something that you can get over the counter at any Walgreens or, drugstore. And it blew me away when I saw what she was doing, what she was making at a very small wage. And then I was also hiring nurses tirelessly, working in HR. I was the East Central Region recruiter for IU Health. And man, as I'm hiring 40, 5 in the background are getting fired for opioid issues, or really the Pyxis issue. And the Pyxis is the area where nurses go in and get medicine to administer to patients. And that was not fulfilling. So I knew in that moment I was not being fulfilled, and I just started driving towards the sun. And when I woke up one day on the side of the road with my 2 dogs in the car, there was a billboard up above me that said cannabis dispensary that way. And I was in Vegas and ended up getting offered a job as a bud tender and completely switched my careers.
Wow. So working in nursing, I know that could burn you out. Like I've been around I have friends who are nurses and on lower levels, and I know how they used to get stressed out all the time. That's definitely a job that could burn you out.
I was burnt out, especially being in HR.
Yeah.
And I was young. I was 22, making a good amount of money on HR, representing a system-wide hospital, a full East Central region of Indiana. I had 2 hospitals, Blackford and Ball Hospital, as well as some medical clinics. And I thought working 80 hours a week was cool. I thought it was 100 hours a week. But when I regained 100 pounds after losing 100 pounds from incorporating cannabis into my diet, I couldn't do it anymore. I was burnt out at 22 years old.
Damn. And somehow, before the sign found you, when did you find cannabis? Did you find it prior to that sign hitting you?
Absolutely. Cannabis has always been in my family. We always loved the smell between cannabis and black and milds because it wasn't a cigarette. And that's what they did in Chicago. They cruised around with their weed and their black and milds. Those smells were always apparent in my household. Additionally, we have a lot of smokers in our household, and smoking is just something culturally that's okay in our family. So whether it's hookah or cannabis or tobacco, that's something that I'd always been around. So the first time I tried cannabis, I was 10 years old. And I was at home with my cousins in a closet, and it was just hee hee ha ha. But I started really using cannabis secretively as a high school student, and it was really helping me. I didn't know at the time, I know now, but it was really helping me through my social anxieties, some traumas, and really academics.
Yeah. That's interesting. So you found it really, really early. Like I was a late adopter to cannabis. Like I didn't even smoke my first joint probably until I was like 19.
Wow.
Yeah. She said, what? Yeah. So I got you beat. Yeah, I didn't smoke my first one until I was 19. I was at that point I was an athlete. I was playing basketball every day. Like I was really trying to live the don't do drugs life.
Yeah.
And then I was going on a college trip, and right when I was a senior in high school, I went to a college trip. And you realize that actually people smoke a lot up here, bro. They do a lot of shit. So I tried to blunt that. I tried to blunt that day. That was the first time I ever tried it. And I didn't even try again probably until a year later. Like it was never something that became part of my lifestyle until way later.
Oh, that's interesting. You know, for me, it was in college when I went to Ball State when I started really incorporating it into my diet every day. Because as a kid, I didn't know. I thought it was just fun.
Yeah.
Like it was a fun thing to do, smoke weed under the bleachers and then, leave the school premises, not get in trouble. I didn't get in trouble in high school. I was a accelerated student, but in college, that's when it really helped me. I was a pretty not troubled, but I was quiet and very serious as a kid. So it allowed me to become creative using cannabis. And then in college, I noticed that I lost weight quick when I started using cannabis. And I didn't understand why. So I did a self-study on 2 occasions. I lost 100 pounds going into after using cannabis every day while I was in college. And my testimony is weed, walking, and water.
Yeah.
So the 3 W's to weight loss: weed, walking, and water. That's the book I'm writing. So don't steal it. It's copyright. No, but so it really just helped me. It helped me maintain, this social presence that without it, I was pretty sad. I was a pretty sad kid. I lost my dad at 16. So, and the other love of my life, my uncle. So my 2 father figures, I lost them both at 16 years old, whether it was from gang violence or from opioids. And so cannabis was inspiring for me.
Oh man, it's crazy. I mean, I lost my father when I was 17, and I feel like, I spoke to my therapist. I feel like that's the part that kind of escalated me smoking. My father smoked black and milds. I used to hate the smell of them. But when he passed, I started smoking them. And my therapist told me that you do that to kind of remind yourself of him. And I think about that all the time when I think about him passing and how that kind of triggered me, I feel like, to get into smoking. But what I was going to say was, it's dope how you realize later, after you start consuming, probably way later in life, how weed was actually helping you through these times. Like, I learned now that weed was really helping me as far as with a lot of anxiety that I was dealing with that I didn't know I was actually dealing with. And it helped me being creative in times where I was super stuck and I didn't know why. Like, I could really look back on my life now and be like, yeah, that's why you were doing it. It wasn't just because you needed a high. You was doing it because you actually needed the shit.
For sure.
Yeah.
Sometimes you needed a laugh. Sometimes you needed a nice color.
Yeah.
Like, sometimes you just need to let your mind wander.
Well, you let your mind wander all the way into the cannabis industry, and I love that for you. You over here with Jade now, and it's interesting. What prompted you to start? Because of all things, we know a lot of people who are in the ancillary side of the business, and not necessarily always plant touching. But you're one of the few people I know who do honey. Like, I do know somebody else, but I'm like, you're knee deep in this. Like, you're a pollinator.
Absolutely.
You're knee deep in this. What made you get into honey?
Ooh, that's a great question, and my favorite question of all time. As a bud tender working at, in patient or customer-facing roles, selling weed all day, it was great. It was fun. It was, relaxing. But I had lost weight, 100 pounds, not once but twice, by incorporating cannabis into my diet. So wellness was a big staple in my mission. The other reason why I moved into Vegas, or I went towards Vegas. And, as a bud tender, I'm selling all these pre-rolls and gummies and chocolates, but I'm a vegan, so I can't eat gummies and I can't eat their brownies. And I also lost 100 pounds, so I don't want to put all of that sugar back into my body.
Yeah.
Plus, diabetes runs in my family, obesity runs in my family, high blood pressure, and the list goes on. And so me being the chain breaker, I said, I have to get into something much more sticky and delicious, something that I can eat. I'm also an avid tea drinker and coffee drinker, but I don't love sugar. I do like sweets, but I don't love regular sugar. So I said, let me make honey. I want to make honey. There was only one other honey brand on the market at the time, but where was their honey coming from? I didn't know. It wasn't locally sourced. At least I don't think. It didn't say it on the bag. But I wanted a product that could really sweeten up the lives and sweeten up the truth in the harshness of our lives. And when it comes to, I'm great at being an accountability partner. So when it came to the services that I had, because before I launched honey, I had services, and those services included emotional support, well-being, accountability partners, and a lot of people would cry. And to sweeten up the tea, I said, let me put honey out on the market. But I had influences by doctors who shared with me about the amazing techniques of honey. I've always been a scholar, so I knew that plants were my thing, and I knew that honey was one of my favorite consumables, and it was safe, it was luxurious, and then specifically my honey, I found out about Manuka honey because I was experiencing terrible acne, hormonal acne, when I turned around 25 years old. And so Manuka honey was the only thing on the market that I put on my face that reduced the swellness, that reduced the redness, and also cleared up my acne. It was just phenomenal. So I said, let me put this out on the line.
Yeah. And yours is infused. It's CBG.
CBG infused. I did not want to step into the THC realm because of the restraints and the red tape around THC, and I didn't want to be limited to just Nevada. I wanted it to pollinate all across the states and all across the world. And how do I do that? Well, enter hemp.
Yeah. I love that. So enter hemp, and now you have something that can just, like you mentioned, you didn't want to be landlocked into Nevada or even just put into that little box. You definitely have a chance now to be way more open in the market.
Absolutely. And it was incredible. God is so good, and I give him all the glory, because as soon as here I go again as a bud tender, and I'm like, okay, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm not touching the people. So I just call in and quit. And actually I texted in and said I can't make it anymore. And I launched Jade. At the time, it was Jodeci Anonymously Developing Excellence, and I was doing HR and some branding and PR and marketing for oncoming brands into the Vegas market. Well, I quickly saw that I was not anonymous. People knew the honey. And there was And that there was just much more of a need for the community and for people to be educated on the benefits that cannabis and hemp have with our bodies and in the endocannabinoid system. I have to give a shout out to the Vegas industry because when it came to education, I have to say they were ahead of the game. Talking about terpenes, talking about our endocannabinoid systems, talking about the different cannabinoids. In our training programs, we had to learn about those pieces, and we were always tested on them. But additionally, our dispensary chose brands that would give us higher education. So give us modules through different apps and give us free rewards. So it gave me that scholarly feel that I was needing from the plant, you know?
Dope. You know, so your time as a bud tender, during your time as a bud tender, you did have a chance to meet some celebrities, I'm sure.
A lot. I worked for Hardin Dispensary.
Oh.
And
you know, I pronounce their name wrong all the time.
It's Hardin. It's Spanish.
Oh, I'm a Jardin person all day. Like somebody's.
No, Adam will be like, no, it's Hardin.
Hardin.
Yeah, Hardin.
Yeah. Also, that makes sense that you would bump into a lot of celebrities. Hardin does have a lot.
Yeah, they absolutely do, and that was a really cool experience. Just being able to be around people who understood the trueness and appreciated what cannabis does versus like always preaching to people like, oh, this is what cannabis can do for you, this is how it can help. It was like, yo, I really want top quality weed like Lil Wayne. That was a really cool deal that I got to do. I got to penny that out. It was the coolest thing ever. A whole pound. You get it for free.
That's funny, man. Shout out to Wayne.
Shout out to Wayne.
So, but now you're past the bud tender role. You now have your own brand, which is Jade. But you also put on another hat on top of your head, which was working with M4MM. And as you mentioned, you started off from one level to another. Like you really came in as you was executive assistant.
Yeah.
You was executive assistant. Now you're COO. That's a leap, man.
Leaps and bounds.
Yeah,
Glory to God. And honestly, roses to Roz, because she really has set the precedence of M4MM.
Yes.
M4MM is known. We're at the forefront of, policy work, advocacy, social justice, health equity, and she already laid the land.
Yeah.
But it was the small seeds that I didn't know at the time that I was sowing and that she saw in me. And what Roz does so effortlessly and flawlessly is give a platform for others to excel and be seen.
Yes.
And I'm grateful for her for this opportunity, honestly.
I definitely, I give flowers to Roz all the time. I've known Roz since probably a couple of months before we even started the podcast. Like I think she had just started M4MM. It was her and Eric at the time. And yeah, it was like so long ago, but she's always had this like godmother feel, like she just want to takes everybody in. And I know that stresses her out too, and I want you to make sure that she takes a break every once in a while. You can't fly around the country helping everybody.
Yes, Roz has been so much better in not spreading her wings way too far over the last maybe year or so. We've really just taken a step back and said baby steps, one step at a time, and don't overcommit and overpromise.
Yeah.
Just be authentic. She's great. She's doing much better.
She's great. The organization is great as well. And so, speak to us about your role there, like as COO. Like, what is your day to day like over there, and what's the experience for you as far as working with the organization?
Wow. So as a COO, I really get to provide the resources to the people, whether it's our leadership and helping their development, helping them obtain resources to reach members in the different states, because mind you, we have 27 national chapters across the United States, and then 4 international chapters. And so when we're looking at cannabis from a national level, that's much more of a bigger scope than what I was doing in Nevada. And so I get to connect with our members. I get to share all of our newsletters, create our newsletters, step into my creative zone, And I get to work from home. That's my favorite thing. I'm a stay-at-home dog mom, manifested. And, you know, I just get to be involved with the people who are doing the work, who are passionate about the work, and who are submerging themselves in the communities that bore the brunt of the war on drugs.
Yeah. You know, you're doing great work, and I'm glad to see that you're in this position. You definitely deserve it, and it's one of them things that you can see it's glowing on you that you have this position. What is more important to you though? Is it working in cannabis or being a dog mom? Because I know you and your dogs are like really like locked in, like there ain't no switching up.
For sure. So my dogs are actually prescribed to me. They're my service animals.
Okay.
And I didn't bring them here tonight because they will steal the shine. They love the camera. They really do. But so when it comes to Jade, Jodeci's Alternative Daily Enhancements, we have services and products. We talked a little bit about the products, but the services allow people to live their best fulfilled life, their whole life. And so when it comes to serving in the way that I serve for M4MM, that is a segment of the services that I provide. I'm easing the mind of Roz with her having the trust and just total confidence that her organization is running the way that it should be, very smoothly. And so when it comes to being a dog mom, they also work. My dogs work. You have to, one, publish a calendar every year, take pictures everywhere we go. People have rented out my dogs because we do one-on-one emotional support. And that service is called Embrace the Dog.
Oh, that's what you
mean. The dog eat dog
when
world.
You be pimping out your dogs.
Exactly. Well, exactly. Because they have to work. I mean, what do I look like paying for all of their dog food? There's 2 of them. All of their dog food. I have to groom them. They want to take walks. You know?
I mean, they have to take walks. Like, it's not like they want to take them.
They get excited. Yeah. So, I mean, please work with the people. The people need them.
So they're fully employed dogs. Like
they're fully employed.
Yeah.
People have rented out the dogs. You can go onto my website, www.jadesbusiness.com, go to Holistic Lifestyle Services, click on there, and find Embrace the Dog, book a free consultation, or book through Rover. So really, we're bringing companionship and wellness together.
That's amazing. You know, the job I work in, and I won't give it away, but I deal with people who often say they have service animals. I know one person in particular, I feel like you absolutely need this. The dog is well trained. I love his dog. But there's so many people I feel like you have this dog, and I don't feel like you even treat this dog well enough for you to call this dog a service animal for you. Like, it's like you have this dog trapped in an apartment. You don't clean up after it. It's just,
ew, so gross.
How is it helping you?
Yeah, that's definitely not helping. So when it comes to like wellness and companionship, we look at nutritional wellness for people and for pets. Because when it comes to people who have service dogs or emotional support animals, there is a difference between them. Most of the time, they're either the dog has separation anxiety or the person has some kind of codependency or some kind of mental health overstimulation or understimulation. I don't like calling things disabilities. So when it comes to that, it's like we have to train the people and the pets. You have to train pets. They're obedient. They're, especially with dogs. Dogs are the most loyal companions you can ever ask for. So why not train your dog? My girls are 7 years old, Roxy and Chloe, and they look like yin and yang. So I have a silver lab. She's mixed with husky, and that's Roxy. And then I have Chloe, and she's a white lab. And they're just absolutely smart and just incredible dogs. But they are trained to work with people who have PTSD. And I actually have a CPTSD, which is a PTSD. It's complex. So it's a chronic condition where over time we have, I've been introduced to traumatic events. With that being said, I manage it through holistic practices, and that's where I want to showcase some of the things that have saved my life, got me off of opioids, helped me live more a fulfilled life. And if it helps me, it might not be the same recipe for you, but maybe some of these techniques that I have in my toolbox can help you. And that's the other side of how I get to help M for MM. I'm just pulling resources out of my toolbox, whether it's intelligence or, encouragement, and just being authentically me.
I love that, man. You really have found your niche.
Yeah, I created it.
Yeah, you really have. You found your niche and you rolling in this, man. I feel like is another evolution. You're gonna be having like your own like little dog dog daycare, or maybe you and the parents
Yes.
will come together. Y'all can smoke and let the dogs kind of kick it.
Absolutely. And so I am looking for land because I would love to have like this dog land.
Oh, you need to meet Nancy Byron. You don't know what I'm talking about. You know who Nancy Byron is? Rap publicist. She's she's not a publicist no more, but she's a major publicist in hip hop, and she has what you're talking about. She's been adopting dogs for as long as I've known her, and she has like so many dogs.
I love that. And for me, I probably wouldn't adopt any more dogs. I did foster a dog, and it just, got thrown on me. And I don't feel bad. I did surrender Dior because he was just way too high maintenance. But
Well, you got a dog named Dior. You know what I mean? Like it started.
Princeton Dior.
Princeton Dior eats only natural food. I could tell. I'm pretty sure
My
all your
dogs
do.
eat cucumbers, carrots, bananas, apples, berries.
So you have a vegan dog? Is it?
They eat meat too, but they get meat imported.
Okay.
So I have a friend who loves Roxy and Chloe, a client who loves Roxy and Chloe. He's 90 years old and he lives in Seattle, Washington, and he'll ship fresh fish out to Roxy and Chloe.
Yo, shut up! These dogs are taken care of better than people.
They are. I'm like, dang, I get pineapple and berries for breakfast, and you get pancakes.
Yeah, like that's wild. That's why Dior had to leave. He was like, this level is good, but it's not where I'm used to.
Yes, but also with Dior, he had a serious traumatic home, so I saved him from his trauma. I helped him with his coping skills, so that way for his next owner, he is perfectly great.
That's great. So to do all this, was this something you just kind of learned on your own, or did you have to re-enroll in school and learn more about how to do everything you're doing from?
Well, the nice thing about having Roxy and Chloe first is that Roxy, I was able to train her from the time she was 7 weeks old. And maybe it had been 8 weeks. I think she had to be 8 weeks in order to start school. So she was trained. When Chloe is just a few months after Roxy as far as like the age. And so Chloe took right after Roxy. So I immediately knew how to train from the American Kennel Club because of my experience with Roxy. I have this passion for dogs because dogs usually don't talk back. Where people might say something crazy and I might look at you a little funny. So
dogs will look at you funny too, though. They know when you acting up.
They definitely do. They huff and puff, and I'm like, what are you huffing about? But
Get to work.
It just works.
That's
That's exactly what I said. Get to work.
Get to work. You got a job to do. These bills don't get paid themselves.
Like we're on walks and we're taking pictures. I'm like, no sniffing. You need to work. Take a picture. Stop sniffing though. You'll smell that in a minute. Pose.
So, where are you pollinating off to next?
I'm not sure yet. I just started school at Maharishi International University in Iowa.
Really?
Yes, as an Ayurvedic practitioner, because as you mentioned earlier, you had asked, did you have to go to school for this?
Yeah.
I went to school for social work, so I already had this grassroots, people-pleasing piece about me. So when it comes to enrolling in school now, really why I'm enrolling in it is so that way I can medically speak to the benefits of using specific plants as medicine, sitting on different councils with doctors, and really speaking to our health and wellness as individuals versus as a contract like most physicians are tied to when it comes to prescription drugs.
That's solid. You took the initiative to learn the things that you want. To be to actually be the expert. We in a world nowadays where people can call themselves an expert and not necessarily be one. But you're taking the leaps to become the expert that you say you are.
That's so sweet.
And you can pronounce the thing you want to do. Like I can never pronounce that. What is it? Say it again.
Maharishi International University.
No.
Ayurvedic medicine.
That part. Well, both of them actually. But yeah, this is.
I just have this. I don't know. I just really love traditional medicine. And I also love different dialects and language. So I was always hanging out in the gas stations when I was buying my Swisher Sweets, talking to the gas station men, saying, "Oh, teach me Punjabi."
Have you learned it?
No, but I do know. I'll tell you one thing. I was in a romantic relationship, and the man that I was with was from. He's Chaldean, and that is, I believe it's in Iraq. And this is what I've learned.
What did you just say?
I just said a whole bunch of love stuff, honey.
You know what's wild? There was a time in my life where I didn't have cable or anything close to that when I was living in Charlotte. So we was stuck still almost like in the Stone Ages where you just had a couple of channels. And on the weekends, there'd be nothing on, but there'd be one channel that would play Bollywood movies. And I went down a rabbit hole for like at least a year and a half just watching Bollywood movies that I knew I didn't understand nothing other than the dances.
Did you learn anything?
No.
That's okay.
Oh, you know what I did learn? They are super intense in their acting. Like, you know what I mean? Like, super intense actors. Like, they really in your face with stuff.
Yeah.
Even with the dances, they are super intense.
The dances are pretty intense. Like, the shoulders,
Oh,
they're
yeah.
so serious about their shoulders.
Oh, yeah. Definitely
Hit
that,
that
man.
shoulder lean.
I'm definitely, I was that guy. Like, for some reason, I was watching Bollywood movies, and I make it a thing where I'm rolling up a blunt on a Saturday afternoon, and I'm watching this guy dance across the screen. Dance across the screen.
I love that. You know, growing up, I didn't get to watch too many Bollywood movies, but I definitely watched a lot of telenovelas. So,
not my Novas. You ever see Fun with Dick and Jane? Not my Not my Novas.
Right. And so, you know, I just have this passion for people and diverse cultures and backgrounds. So the Indian traditions, I think that, you know, a lot of experiences that I've had personally have been so, what is the discriminatory? Discriminatory, is that the word?
Say it in Hindu.
But there's so much discrimination into it. Like, for example, I shared with somebody in my hometown that I was taking up Ayurvedic medicine. And her initial reaction was, "Oh, that goes against God." And I said, "No, it doesn't." She said, "But it's so much about self, and you praise other gods." And there was so much of a negative stigma ingrained from whatever experience she had or however she came up with that it really helped me just speak out more about it and really advocate for people who may not have a voice. I was lucky enough to have parents that were born in the United States, but my grandparents, they didn't speak a spick of English.
I hate you. I hate you so much.
But spice.
But I get what you're saying. They didn't speak any English.
They didn't. No, not at all. None at all. So I know that there's this language barrier, and even through English, there's a language barrier.
Yeah.
You know, based on where you're from, whether you're from the East Coast, West Coast, or the Midwest. Some Midwesterns are really Southerners. You know? So it's just bridging that gap between people. That's my passion.
What's the thing you love the most about what you do in cannabis?
I get to expand the minds of others and open a new perspective, you know? That is my favorite thing that I get to do. I get to talk about opportunities for people to really feel their best, their wholesomeness. And when people are like, oh my gosh, you must have been on tons of drugs when you lost weight, said, no, I just incorporated cannabis into my diet, whether it was juicing. Like, so many people don't know the benefits of juicing raw cannabis leaves. And in the cultivars, most of the time they're throwing those away, the leaves, and it's so great for you. So did I answer your question?
You did in a way, and I have a whole nother question because you got me thinking now about my younger self and how sometimes I always tell myself, "You're making your young you happy." Like in my house, I couldn't eat more than 3 cookies a day. Like
me either.
That was the thing. So now when I go buy a bag of cookies, like, yo, you're making little Rodney happy.
Exactly, because I might eat the whole thing.
When you looking back now, like, what's the thing that make it that you do to make young Jodeci happy?
Honestly, I get to be me.
That's cool.
I'm showing up authentic for myself, and I've gone through the tons of different therapies. I've been in therapy since I was also 10 years old. But being able to just touch and talk to my younger self and saying, like, reassuring myself and understanding that my happiness comes from within, that makes me so much happier because for years upon years, and I didn't learn this until the last few years. So until I was like 28 years old, I was always looking for what was missing in my childhood through other people, whether it was, just reassurance or love. And that always got me into sticky situations.
Yeah. That happens to a lot of us. Like, I look back, when I'm serious about that, because I do, when I was in therapy, that was something we would talk about often. Like, looking at some of the things that you got yourself into or some of the things that you found yourself into because you were looking for something outward that wasn't making young you happy. Like, I really got into making, like, what the hell would make young me happy? So, again, I started buying cookies and started doing random stuff that I couldn't do before.
Yeah. It's just honestly showing up for me and
that's dope.
Not having to bounce my ideas off of somebody else and get approval.
Yeah.
I don't need approval from the people. I get approval from myself and God.
Yeah, amen. And trust me, every once in a while, little Jodeci's happy that you just did something. Like, I tell now, I'm pretty sure Lil Rodney is happy he got his own apartment. Like, you live by yourself? You know what I'm saying? Where's everybody else in the house?
Yeah, and it's crazy because I had this childhood dream. I was like, I just want to be a gypsy, right? And so now I get to pollinate and be in different states and do whatever I want, right? I can open up my Chromebook and say, okay, I'm going to work from Atlanta today.
Which you did, yeah.
And that's exactly what I get to do. But also educate and connect with our community and say, oh, you're on 17 prescription opioids? Like, let's introduce this,
Jodeci, you've been amazing tonight, man. You really made me smile today.
Good. You make me smile.
Yo, she is so damn funny. like you are genuinely a funny human being.
Thank you. That really means a lot.
Yeah, and I love the fact that you understand that Jodeci is the amazing group.
They are.
Shout out to your parents for that one.
Shout out to the parents.
I'm a big believer that Jodeci will wash Boyz II Men in the verses. I thought about that last night before I even woke. I sat up at midnight in my head because I was like, I got Jodeci Gonzalez tomorrow. Next seconds, Jodeci would kill Boyz II Men. Like, I just started going through the songs, all the songs. I was like, they don't even need their first album. Just the last 2 albums got them. Like, I love Jodeci.
And I love that they're back on tour and that they're in Vegas.
Yeah, you know what? I want to go see them as long as they're all good. Like, I want to see good Jodeci. Like, I don't want to see. Yeah, give me the good Jodeci.
Yeah, I agree. I would love to experience them. I actually got to meet Mr. Dalvin in Vegas at a hookah lounge, and he took my ID and was like, "No way! Call your mother right now."
Funny story. I bought a friend of mine Mr. Dalvin's single as a joke because she used to hate it, and I was like, "Yo, I got you a birthday gift." She said she opened it up and it was Mr. Dalvin's first single.
Shout out to Jodeci.
Shout out to Jodeci. Jodeci, for those who want to follow you, learn more about you, or even how you can help them, like maybe there's somebody listening today who you really touched in a certain way. How can they get in touch with you?
Buzz on me at Honey with the Honey, HUNNY with the HONEY, or simply reach out on the web, www.jadesbusiness.com, and make sure, if you are ready to advocate with the nation's largest nonprofit in the Black and Brown communities, you visit www.m4mmunited.org.
Man, I love it. She's an activist, she's an entrepreneur, she's a dog mom, she's a genius.
Thank you.
She's a little bit of everything, and she definitely was an amazing guest. Thank you so much, Jodeci, for coming through tonight.
Thank you. Buzz, buzz.
And that is Cash Color Campus, a high level of conversation on LivehiphopDaily.tv.